So this is the UI of the CITS tool. On the left hand side we see the test plan, which contains the test scenarios. Underneath these we have the test cases. The center pane is actually our test scripts, which captures the steps that we are going to execute in our test cases. On the right hand side we have the object repository. It follows a page object model, so this is the name of the page followed by the objects that are there on that page. At the bottom center we have the test data pane, so we have the option of creating different test environments. In this case we have something like UAT. We can also create a new environment by the name of test, for example, and we copy the data from the UAT environment, so everything, and we say create. So now we have a brand new environment called test, where we can simply go and edit the data to make it compatible with the test environment. One thing I missed to tell you is about the properties section. So the page object model that the object repository follows is enhanced by the properties of the objects that are being captured by the tool. We're going to deal with this a bit more in details when we actually try to understand how these attributes come into being. But for now we are going to only focus on the fact that here we have the option of adding multiple attributes that could be used to identify this element on the screen. On the bottom left hand side of the screen we have reusable component section. These play a very important role in creating a proper test automation suite which are easy to maintain. We're going to see all of these in details in the next section, where we are going to create our first test case. Now all these 5 components constitute of the test design pane, where you're going to design your test cases. If we mouse hover on the left hand side of the screen of the tool, we see 3 icons. The top one is the design pane, that's where we are currently. The middle one is the test execution pane, where we can group our test cases into test sets and then prepare them for execution. And the final segment is the report section, which we are going to deal with much later once we have successfully executed our test cases. Let's take a tour of the execution pane and see what's there in store for us. So this is how the test execution pane looks like. On the left hand side we have the test lab, where we can create what we call a release. So we can add a release, just name it release 1 for now. It's a logical grouping. Under a release we can create test sets or test suites. A test set is nothing but a collection of test cases. So if we name it set 1, then all the test cases that we had created in the design pane can be selected. For example, this is a scenario that I have, basic features, and I'm going to select some of the test cases by simply clicking on them and checking or unchecking the ones that I want or I don't want, and clicking on this green arrow, which will bring or pull all these test cases into this test set which I just created. Save this, and that's it. This is all that we need to create a test set, and this set is now perfectly capable of running either from your machine right now on the Chrome browser, or we can run it via CI/CD, which we're going to see later. At this point in time, we can also add multiple configurations to the test set. For example, we can continue the tests even if there is an error, or we can break the tests if there are errors. We can do that using these quick settings. We can also ensure that we take full page screenshots, or we only say take the screenshot of that part of the page where we get an error or where it is a success. We can also ensure that we only get screenshots for failures and no screenshots for passes, or vice versa, whatever we feel like. On the right hand side of the quick settings, we also see that we can increase the number of parallel threads. So in this case, we have 3 test cases. So we can see if these are 3 independent test cases, we can increase the thread count to 3. So all these 3 independent test cases can run in parallel. Likewise, there are quite a few settings that we can alter here, which we are going to see in details later on. But this is just a quick tour of the test execution pane. Now with this, we come to the end of the tour of the tool, and now we can dive straight into creating our first test case and executing it. So see you all in the next video.